Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yamunandira Vanachari Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So today we will discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 13, Text 27. Please. Utshipta Balaha Kachara Katora Utshipta Bala Kachara Katora Sata Vidunvan Kara Romasha Twak Shata Vidunvan Kara Romasha Twak Purahatabraha Sitadangstra Iksha Purahatabra Sitadangstra Iksha Jyoti Babhase Bhagavan Mahidra Jyotir Bhavase Bhagavan Mahidra Uchittavala Kachara Katora Sata Vidunvan Kararoma Shattvak Purahatabra Sitadangshta Iksha Jyotir Bhavase Bhagavan Mahidra Uchittavala Kachara Katora Sata Vidunvan Kararoma Shattvak Purahatabra Sitadangstra Iksha Jyotir Bhavase Bhagavan Mahidra Others, please.
I need another time, so I'm going to. Shitavala Kachara Katora. Sata Vidunvan Kararosha Twa. Kurahata Brasita Dumpstra Iksha. Jyotir Bhavase Bhagavan Mahitra.
Shiptavala Karachara Katora. Sata Vidunvan Kararoma Shatva. Rahata Prasita Damstra Iksha. Jyotir Bhavase Bhagavan Mahitra.
Uttim Shavala Kachara Katora. Satha Vidunvan Kararoma Shatva. Rahata Prasita Damstra Iksha. Jyotir Bhavase Bhagavan Mahitra.
Synonyms. Uchitavala, slashing with the tails. Kachara, in the sky. Katora, very hard. Sadaha, hairs on the shoulder. Vidunvan, quivering. Kara, sharp. Romashatvak, skin full of hairs. Kura ahata, struck by the hooves. Abraha, the clouds. Sitadamsra, white tusks. Iksha, glance. Jyoti, luminous. Bhavase, began to emit an effulgence. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Mahidra, the supporter of the world. Translation. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Boar flew in the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks. Responsively, please. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Boar flew in the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks. Srila Prabhupada's purport. When the Lord is offered prayers by his devotees, his transcendental activities are described. Here are some of the transcendental features of Lord Boar. As the residents of the three upper planetary systems offered their prayers to the Lord, it is understood that his body expanded throughout the sky, beginning from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, or Satyaloka. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that his eyes are the sun and moon. Therefore, his very glance over the sky was as illuminating as the sun or the moon. The Lord is described here as Mahidraha, which means either a big mountain or sustainer of the earth. In other words, the Lord's body was as big and hard as the Himalayan mountains. Otherwise, how is it possible that he kept the entire earth on the support of his white tusks? The poet Jayadev, a great devotee of the Lord, has sung of the incident in his prayers for the incarnations. Vasati dasana sikare dharani tamalagna sashini kalanka kalevani magna Keshav Shukara Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. All glories to Lord Keshav, Krishna, who appeared as the boar. The earth was held between his tusks, which appeared like the scars on the moon. Om Ajnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankayate Girim Jakripatamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamaham Dadati Swapadantikam. Vancha kalpatarubhyashta kripa sindhobhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Ukchitta bala kachara katora satavidhun ban kararoma shatvak kudahatabha sitadamsta iksha jyotir bhavase bhagavan mahitra. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Boar flew in the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering. Hard hairs quivering. Anybody ever have one of those boar bristle brushes?
Yeah, ooch.
Their hair's a little different from ours, right?
Yeah.
His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks. So, Srila Prabhupada makes the point here in his purport that the Lord takes many forms. And all these forms are transcendental. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur makes an interesting, he opens his comments on this verse by saying this verse is a meditation on Lord Boar in the water. And then of course he flies up. He's kind of showing off, right? All the devotees from the higher planets were offering him prayers. He responded to their prayers, and then he kind of maybe took a little bow, like sort of a ta-da, as I suggested yesterday. Here I come to save the day. Old sangskars coming up in old people. Younger people not having a clue what that heck we're on about. Instead, Mighty Mouse has come to save the day. But here it's Mighty War. And we see the transcendental nature of this form. I was talking, well, I'll get to that. I was talking yesterday about how the Lord assumes different forms just appropriate for the particular situation, for that time, that place, that circumstance, for those devotees. So here, he's assumed a form that the earth has become so contaminated by the negligent, abusive behavior, not just negligent, but abusive behavior of the residents, that it is sunk down into the muck at the bottom of the causal ocean. So, for picking something up from a dirty place, a particular kind of body is really useful, and that is that of a pig. We see somewhere that I think in one of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries, that he was able to find the earth by its scent. We know that in Europe, I guess, pigs are used to find truffles, not the little chocolate candies you get at Trader Joe's, especially around this time of the year, but some sort of fungus that grows, I guess, on trees or something, or at the base of trees, I'm not sure. Not part of my experience. But, so they're very useful for finding these truffles and then, getting them out of the earth. So here, the Lord has assumed a form just suitable for this situation. So he becomes Patita Uddhara, as I mentioned a couple days ago. Lalit's not here to stick in the pin in it, so I'll have to try to remember to stick a pin in it myself. So I'm going to come back to Patita Uddhara. So one of the things that's being pointed out is that, and this was particularly evident in yesterday's report, is that all these different forms that we see in which the Lord appears are all transcendental. And they all do amazing things, unimaginable things. I don't think you have a Marvel or DC Comics series about the Dashavatars and the wonderful things that they do. We see a reference to the Dashavatara Stotram at the end of Srila Prabhupada's purport today. Jayadev Goswami. This is sort of a preface to his Gita Govinda. The Gita Govinda is a very intimate look at the behavior, transcendental behavior of Radha and Krishna together. And there are a couple of kind of introductory parts. The first is Dashavatara Stotram, in which Jayadev apparently means to call our attention to the fact that what you're about to read are the pastimes of Lord Keshav, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has appeared in all these different forms to engage in different kinds of activities, to satisfy different kinds of devotees in different kinds of situations. And here he's come to satisfy the desires of that personality who loves him like no other. So, buckle up. And then the next is a song, Shrita Kamala, which is it's starting to get a little more intimate. And when Srila Prabhupada was asked about that song, it's not a song that he sang. It's And once one devotee asked him about it. He said, our Babaji Maharaj sings this song, we don't. This is for the Paramahamsas. Our Babaji Maharaj, that's Kinchana Krishna Das Babaji, quite a wonderful godbrother of Srila Prabhupada's, who, as those of us who had the good fortune of even having a little time with him, remember with great delight, was so immersed in chanting the holy names of Krishna that if you tried to have a conversation with him, it would pretty much boil down to laughing at Hare Krishna. Sometimes he would kind of reflect back what you said. Somebody said something about Srila Prabhupada has delivered the whole world. The whole world! He would say, Hare Krishna, and then he'd laugh. So he was so amazing. So immersed in the chanting of the holy names that, as the story goes, he went to the doctor. He had some condition. He went to the doctor, and when the doctor went to listen to his heart with the stethoscope, what he heard instead of lub blub, lub dub, lub dub, lub dub, was Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare. The doctor said that, apparently. So Prabhupada said, our Babaji Maharaj is singing, well, we don't sing this. And then you start Gita Govinda proper, and I think I might have recounted this before. Someone gave me a copy of Gita Govinda maybe 20 years or so ago, 18, 20 years ago. And I was reading through it, and then I got to the very first verse of the Gita Govinda proper, and I closed the book and never opened it again, gave it to somebody else. Because I felt, it was real clear to me, none of your business here. This is not for you. It's very intimate from the get-go. So, but Jayadev Goswami prefaces it by presenting the qualities of these Dasavatar stotras. So what he's trying to say is that all these appearances of the Lord, they're all completely transcendental. And Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, toward the beginning of the 4th chapter, he says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha jatva deham punarjanma naitimamiti suvarjuna. That if we understand the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and pastimes, as Krishna, but also in the other avatars, Varaha, Nrsimha, Rama, all the different avatars that we have and will have discussed, then we don't have to come back to this material world anymore. Because if we actually understand that, it means we've been drawn into those pastimes. It means that we become completely transcendentalized ourselves. Just as Lord Chaitanya tells Sanatana Goswami in the 4th chapter of Antya-lila. I think I've mentioned this recently, maybe too recently, but the Lord, when he comes to see Sanatana Goswami, he tells him that at the time of initiation, as the devotee engages in self-surrender, Atma Samarpana, then his body, Krishna accepts that devotee's body as being as good as his own. And he describes that devotee's body in 2 out of the 3 next verses as Chidanandamoy. We talked yesterday about Mayamoy, being completely constituted of mercy. So Chidanandamoy means transcendental knowledge and bliss, that the devotee's body is constituted of transcendental. Even the practitioner's body. This isn't the spiritual body. This isn't the Siddha Deha. This is the Sadhaka Deha. This is what we're operating right now. And to the extent that we are able to surrender to Krishna, I was talking about surrendering yesterday, not necessarily being surrendered, because it's not really a goal. It's there's a sort of an interim goal of actually surrendering. It's an ongoing process. So to the extent that we are engaged in surrendering to Krishna, Krishna accepts our body as being as good as his own, made of spiritual substance. Pretty cool, huh? You know what the other side of that was? The other side of Lord Chaitanya's instruction to Sanatana Goswami? You have something in mind because you're dissatisfied with your body. You're thinking of throwing it away. Don't even think about it. That body is mine. You surrendered it to me. And I have things I want to do with that body. So that's our position as sadhakas. We're surrendering our mind, our intelligence, our senses, everything to Guru and Gauranga for their purposes. So to the extent that we hold back and use them for our own selfish purposes, that's a problem. Creates little bumps in our spiritual progress. So in his purport to this verse, this is the 9th verse of the 4th chapter, Prabhupada says, as stated in the Vedas, Eko Deva Nitya Lila Nurakto, Bhaktavyapi Hridyantaratma. The one Supreme Personality of Godhead is engaged in many, many transcendental forms in relationships with his transcendental devotees. So he comes in different forms. He accepts different forms in order to engage with different devotees in different ways and to show different things. Now, I mentioned Bhagavatam yesterday, I think. So I thought, take a look at the verses. I'm not going to look at the commentaries so much today because the clock. But take a look at the verses in the Bhagavatam that discuss Lord Varaha. So he says, Varaha is described in the first canto. And this is a verse from way back, from the 3rd chapter. The 3rd chapter introduces the different avatars of Krishna. The supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices accepted the incarnation of a boar, the second incarnation, for the welfare of the earth. And for the welfare of the earth, he lifted the earth from the nether regions of the universe. Varaha is described in the 2nd canto also. When the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar, the form of all sacrifices, as a pastime just to lift the planet Earth, the Lord pierced with his tusk the first demon, Hiranyaksha, who was submerged in the great ocean of the universe. The boar avatar advented twice. First, during Swayambhuva Manvantar, from the nostril of Brahma, that's this one, right? In order to lift up the earth, and a second time during Chakshusha Manvantar, appearing from the water. The boar with tusks assumed the 4-legged animal form to kill Hiranyaksha and lift the earth. According to some authorities, however, this form was half man and half boar. Sometimes the boar avatar is black like a cloud, and sometimes he's white like the moon. With either color, he is the form of sacrifice and very strong. It is stated in the scriptures that Hiranyaksha was born from Daksha, who was the son of the Prachetas during the reign of Chakshusha Manu. Thus, the appearance of the boar avatar during the reign of the Chakshusha Manu was confirmed by the information about the birth of Daksha during that time. Daksha is described in the 4th canto, and it goes on. And what we see here is that in this chapter, he says, the truth has been discerned in this way. Maitreya, being asked by Vidura, narrated the activities of both appearances of Varaha in one story. So that explains the things that kind of challenge us cognitively, trying to square the two different versions. Maitreya has kind of fused the recounting of this avatar's lila in two different kalpas in one story. So this is a very wonderful appearance of the Lord. There is there's also another very wonderful appearance of the Lord, also referred to as Patita Uddhara, and that is Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As we see, the Lord comes in different forms to reciprocate in different ways with different kinds of devotees. And we saw in his, as Krishna, he appeared especially to enjoy pastimes with the residents of Vrindavan, whose love for him is not of Sri Sri Panchatattva Chapter, speaking of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Obscured, I guess, is as good a word as any. I'm looking for another word and I'm not finding it. Whose love for Krishna is not obscured or by any other sentiment other than love. There's no, whoa, this is God or anything. Krishna's Yoga Maya makes it, creates a very intimate atmosphere. And so Lord Chaitanya appears for a couple of purposes. And we see in the third canto, Lord Krishna saying that, he says, when in the Kali Yuga, he says, Yuga Dharma Pravartainu Namasam Kirtan Chari Bhava Bhakti Diya Nachamu Bhuvan. He says, I shall personally appear to inaugurate the religion of the age, Nam Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy name, and make the entire world dance in ecstasy, realizing the four mellows of loving devotional service. So we see here that Lord Chaitanya has come to bring four bhavas, chadi bhava, he says, four bhavas. Servitorship, friendship, parenthood, and romantic or conjugal love. And so he's come to immerse. Those are his external reasons. His internal reasons are a little different. And I thought I had that. This is the sixth verse of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is part of what some devotees might refer to as the sacred preface of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Really long word. Where's my bookmark? Oh goodness. So this is Lord Chaitanya, this is Krishnadas Kaviraj explaining the internal reason for Krishna's coming. Desiring to understand the three purposes. Desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love, and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love. The Supreme Lord Hari, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared from the womb of Srimati Sati Devi, as the moon appeared from the ocean. So he came to enjoy, as I mentioned the other day, he's thinking, well, I'm Rasaraj, I'm supposed to be the ultimate connoisseur of all kinds of love, but she's experiencing something that I can't even imagine. It kind of blows my mind. So he's made an arrangement where he gets to come back and enjoy that kind of, try to understand that kind of love. And there's another kind of preface or setup, I guess, for his appearance as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We point out sometimes that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yata mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamiham, that I reciprocate with everyone according to the way they approach me, the manner and the depth of our affection. But then, during the rasa dance, he got stumped, and he admitted to the gopis, he got stumped. Oh, your love for me is so great that it's something that I can't reciprocate, because frankly, it's something I don't really understand, because I haven't experienced this myself. So you just have to be satisfied with that love as your reward. But then there's a sort of implied promise that I'm going to come back and make people your devotees. How's that for a deal? Maybe I can't pay you back right now, but I'll figure out a way to make people devotees of you gopis. So that's also part of his appearance as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And these are all completely transcendental appearances. And by teaching the Yuga Dharma of Harinam Sankirtan and teaching Raganuga Bhakti, which is what he's talking about in that verse from the third chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the kind of love that for Krishna that the residents of Vrindavan have. In that way, Lord Chaitanya is uplifting the whole world, especially through the agency of his servants, whose servants we aspire to be. So, I'll stop right now and see if there are any quick questions or comments. Yes, Thakur.
So we see in the Hindu tradition they have a goat as a boar. In the Hawaiian tradition they also have a goat as a boar. If you go to Pulo or Ranch you can see the statue of big goat. So what's the difference between the Hawaiian boar goat and the Hindu boar goat?
This is not a Hindu boar god. I don't know anything about a Hindu boar god. Not being a Hindu myself, I'm American. I was born in a family that's been in North America for almost 400 years or more. And so I don't know anything about a Hindu boar god, and I don't know much about Hawaiian boar god. This is not a Hindu boar god. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appeared as a boar to engage in a particular lila. That's transcendental. So I'm not sure I have a good answer for your question. I plead ignorance on both counts. Anything else? Mark?
Yes, Lord Boar is Krishna, right? I haven't read it yet. That's okay.
That's what we've been discussing, yes.
No, I know.
This is Krishna having appeared as a transcendental boar to engage in a transcendental pastime.
No, I hadn't seen this yet. That's why I was okay.
I'm just reflecting what you said.
I appreciate it.
Is there a question?
No, I hadn't seen that report, so I was okay. I just wanted to ask you that.
There are plenty of treasures in here, Mark.
You know, why not? I think so.
We're all here to, we've got flashlights, we can guide you through the adventure. Anything else? Okay, thank you so much. Prantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Dhamma Veda Govardhana.